Tonight on Joy News Prime, confirmed the Electoral Commission rules out any possibility of first-time voters registering in the limited voters registration exercise in Bawku in the Upper East region following disagreement between two major political parties over siting of centres. We'll be live on the ground and speak to the parties there. The Electoral Commission says perceived political appointments made to the Commission has not affected its independence, as they say calls for the Commission and some members to resign must be directed at the presidency. We have details as the Commission says Ghanaian elections are always close and are sometimes decided by a few thousands of voters. Reason they cannot allow ineligible persons onto the voter roll. And the Ghana Psychological Association discloses scores of journalists are suffering from mental health issues, insisting if left untreated will impact on the output of their work. Now, if you are a first-time voter residing in Bawku Central in the Upper East region, you will have no opportunity to exercise your right as a citizen in the upcoming district assembly elections. Now, this is because the Electoral Commission has ruled out any possibility for prospective voters to register in the ongoing voter registration exercise following disagreement between two major political parties. The limited registration exercise was halted in the district following the confusion over siting of the registration kits. The EC insists the area is still not safe to deploy its personnel to work there. Deputy EC Chairperson Dr. Bosman Asari said the Commission has no alternative arrangement to ensure prospective voters are not disenfranchised.
Yeah, the Bawku issue, as you rightly pointed out, it came up very, very strongly. The Commission did its very best to be able to bring the two parties, the two main political parties and the others together to be able to ensure a very smooth registration exercise. Our regional director, our district officer in Bawku, all of them did their very best. And as we speak now, we haven't gotten the green light or the permission from them to indicate that the two parties and the other parties have agreed. So as we speak now, there is no registration ongoing in the Bawku municipality.
Then what happens? Because the people ought to also exercise their civic responsibility. What then happens to them?
Yeah, the Commission recognizes the fundamental nature of the right to register and certainly vote as a voter. But we also recognize that the right to life is also very, very important. Our officers in Bawku, these are people from several parts of our country who have been posted there to do their work. And once we got the indication that their life will be in danger if they should go ahead with the registration exercise, the Commission decided to put registration on hold. So as I indicated earlier, if we get the permission, the green light from the two parties that they've come to an agreement and that there is consensus that the registration should go on, the Commission is fully ready. But based on the information, the intelligence we have from our regional director and other personnel in the region, it is not appropriate for us to continue with the registration in the Bawku municipality.
So no alternative arrangements will be made for the people of Bawku?
Currently, there is no alternative arrangement being made. The Commission is not considering any alternative arrangement.
Well, Upper East correspondent Albert Sorry joins us right now on Zoom. Albert, what is the general sentiment among first-time voters in Bawku missing out on the opportunity of voting?
Dilemma for many of these first-time voters, because first, one of the things that is coming up also has to do with the safety of even the registrants themselves and not just the EC officials. Because for you to move from one location to the other in Bawku to do the registration, you have to consider your own safety because of the security situation there. So they have to look at this before they even move to the center to register. And so that is the first thing. The other thing is that most of these people feel that if the government, and for that matter, the security agencies, really wanted to make sure that as first-time voters, they get the opportunity to exercise their franchise in 2024, then they would have put in the right measures to ensure that whatever threat or whatever that is going to prevent the registration from going on does not happen. But right now, it looks as though once the disagreements came and the security situation was threatened, then it appeared they didn't do much to resolve the situation. And so there's a bit of frustration. But most people that you also speak to feel that, look, if I have to register and it is also going to be at the cost of my own life or at the cost of my own safety, then maybe I should not even go there at all. So these are some of the concerns that are coming.
Thank you so much, Albert. Now, thankfully, we have the NDC Communications Director for Bawku Central, Yusuf Otumba, joining us here on Joy News Prime. First off, it's been confirmed. First-time voters will have no chance of registering. How does this hit you? Kindly unmute for me, Yusuf, so that I can hear you clearly. I was asking...
Yes, I'm unmuted. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. I was asking that now it's been confirmed. First-time voters will no longer have the chance of registering. How does this hit you?
Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers. And then thank you very much for offering us the opportunity to speak on this issue. This is coming to us as a surprise because we think that the Electoral Commission cannot be a law unto itself and determine when to register people and when not to register people. We have still not found any reasonable grounds upon which the Electoral Commission will say potential registrants of Bawku Central constituency would be denied the opportunity to participate in the political activities of this country. To put the record straight, let me state that what is this whole issue about? Why are we at this stage? Why do we have an issue? And are we supposed to have an issue at all? That is what we should be asking. It appears to us that the Electoral Commission is not telling the entire world the truth about this whole development. We all understand the situation in Bawku as it is. Some days to the beginning or the start of this registration exercise, the Electoral Commission communicated to us as a political party. And they said they were going to make a proposal to the National Electoral Commission. And the proposals were this. One, they wanted to request that apart from the registration that will take place at the Electoral Commission's office, the Electoral Commission should equally create 3 additional registration centers to cater for the people of Bawku because of the peculiar situation we find ourselves. And these areas where the registration, the machines were supposed to be requested and taken to, they included one, the township of the Bawku Central constituency, because the people within the township will find it difficult to access the Electoral Commission's district office. We all appreciated that. 2, there was the need to equally request for a machine to take care of the people within the Kokas-Sabugu electoral area because they stay outskirts the township of Bawku. And so therefore they find it difficult as a result of security reasons to get access to the Electoral Commission's office. And thirdly, they also made a proposal that they were requesting for another machine to take care of another geographical area, that is the Bisa Belt. We have an area in Bawku where we call the Bisa Belt. These were proposals that were made by the Electoral Commissioner, the District Electoral Director himself, that he was going to make this proposal to national because of the peculiar situation we find ourselves in Bawku Central. It was well accepted by all of us. A day to the commencement of the registration exercise, the District Election Director communicated to us as a political party that national headquarters have denied that request. And so therefore, we were all supposed, per CR 91, to go to the District Assembly, where the Electoral Commission's office is located, to have our registration. This was a communication from the District Election Director to all of us. So our expectation was that we were all going to have the registration at the District Assembly, where the Elections Commission's office is located. That was the understanding we had. But to our surprise, on the day of the registration, intelligence came to us that the Electoral Commissioner District Director has taken a machine to the Bawku Township, which is an MPP-dominated area, to have the registration there, denying the people of the Kukazabwe electoral area the opportunity to also have themselves registered, denying the people of the Bisa Belt who could not, for security reasons, come to the district election director's office, denying them the opportunity to also get themselves registered. So the issues we raised were fundamental. If for security reasons, you are not able to, if for security reasons, you decided to provide an additional machine for the people who are living within the township to have the registration, for the same security reason, the people of Kukazabwe electoral area, they also need a machine. The people of the Bisa Belt, they also need a machine, because we can understand why the lives of a certain group of people should be treated in a special way, whilst we disregard that of a certain group of people.
Interesting. Sorry to come in at this point. There are general concerns. The EC says you caused this because you refused to sign the pact. So the question is, the problem at hand, why did you refuse to sign the pact?
You see, let me put the whole discussions in proper perspective for us to appreciate.
I understand the perspective, sir, but we just want to know why you refused as a party to sign the pact.
I'm coming to that. In the first place, per Article 45 of the 1982 Constitution, it is the duty of the Electoral Commission to ensure that Ghanaians who have attained the ages of 18 and above and are of sound mind are provided the opportunity to register. It is not our responsibility to ensure that anybody is registered. This is a statutory responsibility that has been placed on the Electoral Commission. So what is this whole issue about? We have made a request that the Electoral Commission cannot single-handedly decide to take a machine to the township, denying the other people who equally have security concerns the opportunity to equally have themselves registered. You see, per the rules of the Electoral Commission, my sister, we all appreciate that the registration is supposed to take place at each district office. We all appreciate that. But if for any security reasons, the Electoral Commission in its own wisdom thinks that there is the need to provide additional machines to assist the people of Bawku to get themselves registered, what is curious is why they decided to take machine to one area, which is an MPP-dominated area, and denying the other people of the same privilege and opportunity. So it is not about the NDC and the MPP signing any pact. The Electoral Commission is simply resorting to excuses, and we want to draw the attention of the Electoral Commission that it is not within their mandate to begin to twist the laws when it favors them. It is not within, they don't have all the powers in the world to decide which group of people should be registered and which group of people should be denied the opportunity to register. So the situation is Bawku is much ado about nothing. For the Electoral Commission to resolve this issue, all they need to do is to create 2 additional machines. As they have created one to take care of the people of the township, we appreciate that they are Ghanaians. We appreciate that they should not be denied the opportunity to register. But we equally think that the lives of the people of Kukazabwe electoral area matters to us. We equally think that the lives of the people of the Bisa area matters to us. So the Electoral Commission cannot choose and pick where to send a machine, where to think that the lives of the people is so much important that they should be given a preferential treatment while denying another group of people that same treatment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yusuf Otumba, for joining us here on Joy News Prime. We also have the MPP Communications Director for Bawku Central. He's Nuruddin Guma. He joins us now on Joy News Prime. Is this development a big blow to the party? Okay. Mr. Nuruddin Guma is MPP Communications Director for Bawku Central. We've been discussing the new development. The Electoral Commission has confirmed that it will not be going on with the limited votes registration exercise in Bawku. Now, thank you for joining us on Joy News Prime. I asked, is this development a big blow to the MPP? Because there's no chance of having first-time voters vote for you.
Well, good evening. Let me say good evening to you and good evening to your cherished viewers. First of all, I listened to the NDC communications officer, and I must set the record straight that before the limited registration started, the EC didn't engage any of the parties within the constituency. So the registration started the first day, the second day, then the EC decided to put up a second registration center at the Bawku Township. And I'm sure this was due to advice from the Ghana Police Service because of the security situations within the Bawku area. So when they started the limited registration the first day, at the EC's office, they registered more than 100 people. But you see, if you are not very conversant with the dynamics in Bawku here, you won't understand what is going on here. You see, there's a chieftaincy conflict in Bawku, which is between Kosasis and Mamprosis. And as we stand, politically, we have areas that are controlled by the Mamprosis and areas that are controlled by the Kosasis. Now, the EC office is situated in Gingandi at the Municipal Assembly. That is an area that is controlled by the Kosasis. So any Kusasi community can have access to that center, like the Koka Zabgu he's talking about, like the Bisa Bells he's talking about. These are all areas controlled by the Kosasis. And therefore, anybody within these electoral areas, which is about 11 electoral areas, can have free access to the EC's office at the Municipal Assembly without any security threat. But the rest of the constituency, which is made up of about 9 constituencies, that is the Bawku Township itself, it is quite very difficult to access the EC center. Remember some time ago, some immigration officers were attacked. It was just by the EC center. MPP executives were returning from Bolga. They were attacked on the same spot. So what we are saying is that it is going to be a huge security threat for people within the township to access the office there. And if you contact the Ghana Police Service in Bawku, they advise the EC to try as much as possible and get another center in the township. This is what brought about the offline machine that was brought to the township so that people will be able to also register. Now, when the EC, the Ghana Police Service, met both NDC and MPP in a meeting, it was agreed that we should, later the NDC actually agreed that the center in the township should operate because they also have supporters within the township who will be willing to register. But the EC regional director instructed that we must all put up an undertaking, agreeing that we all agree that the second center should be open in the Bawku Township. We, the MPP, we did. The NDC refused. That is why the EC is telling you that the NDC is the cause of the problem. Because they had agreed verbally, and when it was asked that we should put it into writing, they refused. And that is how they have to halt, the whole process within the Bawku municipality.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Nuruddin Guma, for joining us on Joy News Prime. Well, let's stick with the Electoral Commission because they say the appointment of perceived politically biased persons to the Commission has not affected its independence in any way. President Akufo-Addo appointed Dr. Peter Ipiahini and Salima Tajani as members of the Commission. However, there have been calls for these two to resign because of their affiliation to the governing MPP. By responding to questions about this demand, Deputy EC Chairperson Dr. Bosman Asari argued that the appointments have not in any way compromised the EC's independence. He, however, asked that such calls must be directed to the president who made the appointments.
CSOs calling on the EC, is this some appointment of commission members? Please, the Electoral Commission, those who are working as directors, officers, they were appointed by the commission under the leadership of the chair. Commission members are not appointed by us. The chair didn't appoint them. So please, if you have any concern about the appointment, I think that where the people who appointed them will be the best person. But for we Electoral Committee, we are doing our work, and so far we don't think that anybody's presence has undermined the quality, the integrity, and the transparency of our processes. And we are working well, and everything is going very well for us.
Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission says all citizens must be concerned about ineligible persons going onto the voters' roll. According to Deputy EC Chairperson Dr. Bosman Asari, Elections in Ghana are always close and are sometimes decided by a few thousands of voters, and ineligible voters could be the ones deciding the balance of power.
In 2008, the presidential election was won with how many votes? Think about 40,000 something. So let's be very clear. If every polling station we get 2 people who are not qualified to be on the register, now we are doing 38,622 polling stations. So if 2 persons who are not qualified, they get on the voters register at each polling station, how many people are we looking at? Do you know some parliamentary elections are won with some 5 votes? I think we've had even 3 votes. We've had that. So if we make that mistake, and what the Electoral Commission, what we are doing is that this is political party neutral. Let's ensure that all of us have a system that is credible. That's what the Electoral Commission is only saying. So, Mr. Asante, I think all of you, the media, you are going to support us.
Well, Dr. Bosman Osari insists the challenge system, which is expected to weed out unqualified persons, has become ineffective because of the guarantor system.
What happened to the challenge system? Because the guarantor system has outlived its usefulness, the challenge system is also a problem. And the commission is saying to avoid all this, everyone who comes to us to register as a voter must come on his own terms. Recently, we had the EU Observer Mission. When they came, one of the things they told the Electoral Commission was that it's outmoded or it's antiquated for somebody to come and vote for the citizenship or for the age of another person in 21st century Ghana. And when you talk about election management, Ghana is the best in the sub-region and even in the continental wide. So we are committed. Our objective is to ensure that we have a system that is very scientific, that is very, very credible.
Well, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has charged members of Parliament of ECOWAS to find solutions to the emerging remilitarization of governance, the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites, and the wanton desire to destroy democracy by terrorist groups and armed criminal gangs in the region. Stating what he described as 3 serious threats to democracy in the region, President Akufo-Addo said democracy in West Africa is in danger. Thus, the regional fraternity must work even harder to entrench the principles of democratic accountability to the citizenry.
4 years ago, all 15 leaders of ECOWAS states were democratically elected. We are at the moment witnessing a significant decline in our democratic credential. Today, 4 ECOWAS member states are led by military governments as a result of coups d'etats. This sad and unfortunate development has created a state of palpable anxiety and tension in every corner of the region, raising the specter of regional instability, which we thought had been banished forever. Equally abhorrent is the culture of violence and disputes that characterize the periods of electing some of our leaders. Democracy in West Africa is in danger, and we must work even harder to entrench the principles of democratic accountability in the citizenry. In my opinion, regional democracy is currently facing 3 serious threats. Firstly, is the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites who engage through legal antics in the manipulation of constitutional rules and the subjugation of the institutions of the Republic with the sole aim of remaining in power. Secondly, is the emerging remilitarization of governance with the return once again of the military onto the political scene, who have neither consulted nor received any mandate from the people on whose behalf they purport to act. Lastly, is the wanton desire to destroy democracy by terrorist groups and armed criminal gangs who seek to establish zones of lawlessness in the absence of freedom in our region.
He has called on the ECOWAS legislators to ensure that one of the expected outcomes is to help understand even better the root causes of democratic regression and political instability in the region in order to better address them and speak against the extension of presidential term limits by some leaders to strengthen their grip on power.
The true purpose of democratic governance is to obtain the objective of free government, shared prosperity and progress, equitable and accessible justice, and lasting peace. It is important for all of us, as adherents of democracy, to remember not to underestimate the importance of Parliament, and consequently, not to undermine its work. We cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament in exercising the checks and balances needed on the executive. We cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament as the voice of the people. And we cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament in setting the tone for public discourse in our respective countries. It is for the good of our nations that our parliaments develop the capacity to insist on accountability in all aspects of our lives. And no institution is better suited for this than the one which houses the representatives of the people. In so saying, I urge the ECOWAS Parliament to speak against the extension of presidential term limits by some leaders to strengthen their grip on power. These actions tend to result in discontent among the populace, which creates fertile grounds on which military interventions disingenuously feed.
We're taking a quick breather here on Joy News Prime. When we come, we'll tell you about the mental health of journalists and why it is a concern to stakeholders to stay. Thanks for staying with us. Now, a 17-year-old boy with physical disability, Jeremiah Kwame Bedu Jr., has been missing out on education for the past 2 years because he slipped down the school stairs. His school, Adabraka Presby Junior High School, is not disability friendly, and school authorities also did not reasonably accommodate him by at least organizing classes downstairs. Jeremiah is pleading for financial support so he can receive treatment and go back to school. There's more in this report.
It's a Monday morning and 17-year-old physically challenged Jeremiah is seeing his siblings off to school. This has become Jeremiah's daily routine since dropping out of school about 2 years ago. He loved school and never missed class despite his predicament. But that excitement ebbed away when he slipped from the first floor of his class and injured himself. The incident took him away from the classroom for a long time.
I was in school last year about second term. Then I stopped going to school because of my injury. My class is at the top and it was closing. I separated my house in two parts. One is strong, the other is not. When I was coming down, I accidentally fall on my weak hand and I have some blood flowing inside that hand. That is why I can't go to school now.
With his hands swollen, coupled with his disability, the school building, which has been a second home to Jeremiah, has become inaccessible for him and other students with physical disabilities. Jeremiah is still suffering from the fall, making it difficult for him to return to school. His mobility was significantly impacted after the fall, and this has left him on a long road to recovery. The thought of not returning to school to learn and play with his friends drowns his joy.
They make me feel welcome in the school because the most of the schools I go, the people in the school, yes, they love me and know me, but they treat me like I'm not one of them, like I'm separate. That is why I love this school, because they treat me like them, they pay attention to me, and they love me and I love them back. If I did not understand anything, if they finish, I ask one of my classmates to interpret what they say. And then they will not say that they will not do it. They will do it and they will help me. I feel so sad. I feel so bad. I feel terrible. I love school. I see my siblings go to school and coming back happy, and I'm home. I feel so bad. Staying at home, I feel so sad.
Jeremiah loves school. He believes the classroom is the surest place to attain his dreams. He's not going to school today, but wearing his uniform at home gives him joy and hope of returning to the classroom one day.
Jeremiah is a very brave boy. He's very brave, and whatever that he's determined to do, he does it. Even though you see him this way, he wants to do things for himself. He will often not allow anybody to do some of the things for him. He will try to do it himself.
Headmistress of the school Jeremiah attends appears to be helpless in this situation. She paints a picture of how the school environment has been designed.
Unfortunately, I was not around by then. I was posted here last year. So it happened before I came. But when I came, I was told that this is what happened. We don't have a paved way for them to. Looking at our staircase, it's very difficult. So when you push him, you have to take him around, and then other colleagues will also come and then assist before he can get to the classroom. The environment here is not disability friendly.
Jeremiah has had his own share of rejection and ridicule. This, he admits, sometimes takes a toll on him.
Some kids there, they laugh at me and say that I can't walk. Some call me a dog. I want to see people to see that my type of people, they can never stay at home and just do nothing. They can go to school, learn, get their forms, get their grades, and go out there, and they can do bigger things and better things. That is why I'm forcing myself to go to school.
Professor Kojo Etua is a human rights advocate. He joins us via Zoom. Very touching story. Is Ghana's stake in the past when it comes to ensuring the rights of persons with disability and on the right path? Because it's worrying. Listen to some of the things he has said about how people treat them.
Yes, it's a very touching story, and my heart goes with Jeremiah, and I pray that he's able to return to school. Well, in terms of Ghana's duties as a state, we have duties as a state party to many international treaties. We also have set for ourselves obligations in the Constitution, which is the most progressive in terms of recognizing the rights of persons with disabilities. The Constitution, when it comes to family relations, talks about a more embracive approach to allow persons with disability to be recognized as such. And we can also refer to the Disability Act, which was adopted in, which became a legislation in 2006. It came a few months before the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability was adopted, and Ghana became a party the following year or so. but it took a longer time for us to become legally bound by the instrument in 2012. Since then, we have not done anything with reference to amending our Disability Act to accommodate the various provisions in the CRDP or CRPD or the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability. Jeremiah's case falls into the realm of reasonable accommodation. That is necessary and appropriate accommodations or modifications that a state party is required to make, or an organization that has persons with disability in their locality or working with them to enable the person with disability to overcome any barriers that may serve as an impediment to realizing his or her rights. So in this case, the reasonable accommodation would be setting up a lift, which may be too expensive for the school to accommodate and to afford. But for some situations, they have a means where the child can be brought up to the level where the floor where he can go to school easily, or the class could be relocated to the first floor so that it will be easier for him to get to the classroom. And so in a situation where he had to fall, it clearly shows that the school is not meeting its obligations for Jeremiah to be able to attend to school, which is a very sad situation. And it indicates that we really need to be responsive to the requirements that we sign up to at the international level, and also within the Constitution itself, so that such people will be able to attend the school.
Interesting, Prof. So can Jeremiah go to court, bearing in mind these details you have fed us with?
It is possible that he can go to court because of the fact that he fell. And if you're looking at general tort disability, there's tort responsibility, there's a duty on the occupier, the one that is in possession of that facility, to make sure that there is some reasonable accommodation, or to make things easier for the person to be able to manage his or her way on the facility. So there is that breach of care that lies on the school facility, which ultimately will be the responsibility of the government to make sure that the person is given that remedy that will enable him, and at least to be able to take care of his medication and to be able to find a way to provide that reasonable accommodation so that the child will be able to go back to school. Because not going to school at all is also a violation of the child's right, because that is clearly stated in the Disability Act that a child that has a disability should not be denied the opportunity to go to school. And if necessary, the government has a duty to set up special schools for such persons. So clearly there's a violation there. And the minimum that the government could do is to take care of the hospital bills and so on, to enable Jeremiah to be well enough, and to ask for the classroom to be relocated to the ground floor. I don't think it will cost too much to do that, so that when he has finished his class, the class rooms can be changed, so that the class will go back to where it originally was. And I think that is the minimum duty that the government owes to Jeremiah and other persons in similar situation.
Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. Now, let's shift our attention to the psychological state of journalists. The Ghana Psychological Association says scores of journalists in Ghana are suffering from mental health issues. Now, according to President of the Ghana Psychological Association, Dr. Edu Collins Ajiman, journalists developed this condition as a result of the years spent covering trauma-related stories. Speaking at a workshop on improving the well-being of journalists and suicide reporting, he indicated that it is crucial for journalists to maintain their mental well-being. Well, let's get more on this. Joining us now on Zoom is the General Secretary of the Ghana Journalists Association, Kofi Ebua. Thanks for joining us here on Joy News Prime. Now, prior to this revelation by the Psychological Association of Ghana, did the GJA know of this mental health state of Ghanaian journalists?
Thank you very much. And I like the word you use, revelation. So it is a revelation to all of us. And I must confess, as an association, we have not thought of this issue at all. We have been addressing issues broadly to do with the welfare of our members, but something specific or relating to mental health has never been on our radar. So we find this study or survey by the Ghana Psychologists Association very helpful. And I believe not just the GJA alone, but media owners and every player in the industry will take this the findings of this study very seriously. And for me, we need to be looking at the way forward.
Interesting. Now, it's good you mentioned the welfare of journalists, because one major concern that we as journalists hardly speak about publicly is our welfare. Now, how does that also contribute to the mental health of practitioners, considering low remunerations?
I listened to the seminar organized by the Ghana Psychological Association, and they had highlighted a number of things, and these are things we encounter every day, but have never paid attention to. Things to do with not just your welfare, how much you are paid, and there are studies have shown that sometimes your pay alone can make you psychologically imbalanced. Sometimes your status as a full-time worker or employee, or as a freelance person, can affect your mental health, because if you're a freelance person, you don't have a guaranteed income. Your income may be based on the work you do. And so at every given time, you are looking at where the next job will come from. And because you keep thinking about those things, it may affect your mental health. Even the workload. And these days, we are working around the clock, 24 hours. Unlike the past, when you may have a news bulletin at 12 or 1 o'clock, and the next one may be at 6 or something. Now, every hour you are going on air. Every hour you are chasing a story. And that can even lead to mental health issues. And one thing they had also highlighted is the perception around mental health. That is a general thing, though, but within the media space too, they found out that is a big issue. I recall when I was at GBC, one time we had information that one of our colleagues had been admitted at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and on that day, it was as though there was a funeral in the newsroom, because the thinking was that once you go there, you are excuse me to say, mad. But then it's a place we can go to seek mental health. So generally, we even have a certain negative perception around this, and we think that this study will help us to.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, we need to change that perception. We would have to cut the conversation here. Thank you so much, Kofi Ebua, for joining us as General Secretary of the GJA. We will be having this conversation in subsequent bulletins, because this is key, especially for practicing journalists like myself. We're taking a quick breather. When we come back, we'll be back with Showbiz Tuesday. It's time for Showbiz, and I'm doing it myself. Now, what is the name, Abna, that many musicians love so much that they capture it in their songs? Well, Ghanaians started it, but the Nigerians have taken over. Watch this.
Maybe it's because I am unique and beautiful. So in general, we are unique and beautiful. The name Abna. Maybe it's because I am unique and beautiful. So in general, we are unique and beautiful. The name Abna.
Well, that's it for showbiz. We have to do something, Akosia. All the Akosia gather around. We have to make our name known in the musical space. What do you think? Well, that's it for showbiz. And that's it for Joy News Prime. My name is Faustina Sapo. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a pleasant evening.